award, and the award showed clearly that the gap has been bridged. The gap between the elite teams in Africa and those that are coming has been bridged. And for me, I think that it is not gainsaying. Yes, the experience counts a little because we saw what they can do, but you cannot take away the fact that the experience of the elite teams will always prove worthy when it matters most. And clearly, we've seen that. I thought that maybe one of them will get to the semi-final. DR Congo surpassed a lot. I mean, they have won it before, no doubt. But in modern time, they are not one of those things you're going to stand strongly. But I still feel that the Minnows have really made their statement, and we cannot take away that shine from them.
Okay, before we get to tonight's game proper, we have to look at the road to the final of these two teams. First, let's build up with the match of last night involving the third place trophy. It was between South Africa and Congo DR. Okay, these two teams did their best. South Africa, no doubt, won on the night. But will you say the Congolese boys were disappointed that they didn't take something back, especially to the eastern neighbors of Congo that has been under, has been besieged by rebels trying to fight government forces?
That third place medal would have done a lot to assuage the fans, the Congolese fans. Like you rightly mentioned, it's been a battlefield between the government forces and the rebels. But back to the football, I think it was an evenly matched encounter. I, for one, I was surprised that there were no goals that I expected Congo to come up with goals. But if you know the South Africans very well, they are difficult to score against. And even when we did score against them, it was a penalty. There were no goals from open play. And Rowan Williams again showed what he's made of. He came up with a couple of saves. So, yes, I kind of expected what I saw, but I'm disappointed that there were no goals. And I'm sure the Congolese would also be disappointed that they are going to empty-handed. Football is one funny game, Mr. Cyril. You would expect that the South Africans, after being knocked out in the semis, will maybe just want to joke around with this one, maybe fielding one or two players who thought this competition actually the competition. But that wasn't the case. I can remember in one time when they missed a chance, and you could see Hugo Cruz getting angry on the touchline. I wondered why is this man getting angry? It's just the bronze medal. But that just tells you that any football match, for anyone who has passion about the game, especially coaches and players, they want to win everything. Whether be it a friendly, be it a final or a top place encounter. So it's a good one for South Africa. But sorry to my Congolese brothers, I'm sure they will be disappointed they didn't get it out.
Will you say they have made a statement completely, especially with the way they put their hands to their mouth and not singing the national anthem of Congo, trying to give some support to the forces?
Well, I'm one person who doesn't like traveling to politics, and I don't like to mix politics with football. I think we should just be allowed to enjoy our football. And I know that these players have families back there in Congo, and a lot of them will want to through the line of the rebels. But my advice to players is please try to stay with politics, because you are fighting for the whole country, not for one faction. I remember what happened with the DJ Drogba and the Ivory Coast. We also have Drogba single-handedly stopped what was supposed to be a full-blown civil war in Cote d'Ivoire by insisting that the rebels and the government forces must come together and talk about peace. In one game, one encounter when he was playing. And I remember that singular act of Drogba put an end to what would have been a civil war in Cote d'Ivoire. So I think players should be more unifiers than people who try to fight. Taking sides in any conflict like this is not good for anybody, because there are also people on the other side who support action. So yes, for Congolese, for the Chancellor Mbemba and his side, Alto Maswaku and Fisa, I want to say, well, big congratulations to them. No one gave them any chance to get to this league. But please, I don't know, I'm not concerned with what's going on in Congo politics-wise, but my advice to players and sports people, please try as much as you can to stay away from politics.
Okwi wants us to stay away from the political side of football and concentrate on what happens on the pitch. And Mike, talking about what happens on the pitch, the South Africans, have shown their dexterity, especially for goalkeeper Rodo Williams, that penalties could be his fault, though he did survive against Nigeria. But against the Congo DR and of course their opponent at the semi-final, the South Africa has shown that yes, they can stop any team via the penalty shootout.
Yes, of course, we saw that in their first game against Nigeria, they were able to do their best, just that their best weren't enough. And against Congo DR, they also, prove, very strong for the Congolese. Thanks to their keeper, Rondon Williams, who has been, the hero for their team this year's African Cup of Nations. I think they just needed that victory to be able to at least douse away some of the tension what they passed through in the hands of Super Eagles. But then the game was 50-50, if I want to say. Though they had a couple of chances, ball position, they had about 56 ball position, contrary to that of 44 to DR Congo. Goal on attempt on goal, the South African had about 6, while Congo had about 13. So for me, I think it was evenly poised game. But I expected the Congolese to have done a whole lot, because they had a couple of chances to have buried the game, but they didn't take their chances. And when a game goes to penalty shootout, it can go either way, and that is what happened to South Africa yesterday. So you say yes, Rondon Williams still remains the hero for the South African team.
Well, let me get back to you, Okwi, and it is now known that the video assistant referee is part of the game of football. He's been practiced in Europe and now been aptly demonstrated in Africa. Everybody, including top-level European coaches and administrators, believe that Africans have demonstrated better use of the video assistant referee system than Europeans that did start this aspect of football. Do you agree with celebrated former players and of course officials in Europe who are applauding the way Africans have applied the video assistant referee system?
I will have to agree. I'm African. That's one good news for Africans. Every time we hear things out of Africa, maybe football-wise or maybe from politics, bad news. But this time around, European coaches and players are agreeing that we have had better use of VAR. But having said that, I also like to say that football has several dynamics. Some of the calls, the AFCON has just been a 3-week or 4-week tournament. Going to some of the leagues in Europe, you get some calls that will confuse you, even as a fan, watching from your home. Several replays are shown, and you can't make up your mind what the decision is. I'm talking about European, trying to defend the European VAR officials now. You sit in the comfort of your home, you have several replays, and you can't make up your mind what the call is. And so it's difficult for these VAR officials sometimes to be able to make the right calls. We've really not had any controversial call in the AFCON, not necessarily because the VAR officials and the referees got it right, but just because maybe fortune is smiling on us, because Mr. Cyril, you've been in football. There are some calls you get and you really can't make up your mind as a referee. You get to VAR and it's really controversial. You just have to take the decision that comes to you. So thankfully enough for us, yes, we've been able to make good use of VAR. We've been getting accolades from referees, from coaches and from players across all around the world, especially in Europe. But again, I have to say that we've been fortunate not to have any really controversial calls in this year's AFCON.
April, will you want to toe the same line with Okwi on the video assistant referee? Yeah, he said that yes, you cannot. We have done so well in Africa, but there's not been any reason otherwise as compared to what we've seen of European. But for me, I think we've seen very top-notch, clinical and incisive calls by the referee. If you look at the match between Nigeria, and our opponent, especially in that semi-final pairing, where at least 5 persons died, nobody would have thought that you have a recall, way back from the defense line to cancel a goal, and that could. We've seen situations where in Europe, more than 5 times I can recall, where there have been apologies for wrong usage of the video assistant referee, but there's been no apology in this tournament of 3 weeks, and it doesn't matter. But this is a high-level tournament, you say.
I agree that if you look at the percentage vote for VAR, use of VAR in this AFCON this year, you will see clearly that it's not been less than 88% every day of games played, and that tells you how good it's been. I also agree that yes, a lot of thumbs up for the referees, but we cannot also undermine the fact that this is just 52 games, within a space of 2 months, as compared to that of the European scene, where we have a team playing 38 games per season and other games, in the league. So you want to juxtapose that. You think that yes, Oki might be right in his assertions that they will have more games there, so more chances of those errors and those tight moments. But we can also downplay the effort of our referees. I mean, we all knew how these referees emerged. These are top-notch referees across the continent of Africa, selected best referees, and all of them trained. I mean, this is the first time we're seeing that there is no discrimination as to whether you're a center referee today. Tomorrow, the center referee can become the head of VAR, the next game, and that's how it's been. I tell you for sure, massive preparation. I think that the way they have planned so far, and we can also rule out the monetary effect, of this one, the marketing and commercial values that comes to this year. And so that has also initiated training policies and also added value to the referees. So I don't want to downplay their effort because they have done so well. I need to give them that thumbs up. If we go by the ratings, I think they've done so well. But then we cannot compare 52 games as to others in Europe. But if others are commending us, then we should openly and wholeheartedly embrace that commendation and hope that in our CAF Champions League and CAF competitions we'll get to see more of this electrifying, officiating and VAR actions.
Well, I think video assistant referee they've done their very best. Not just the video assistant referee, the referee themselves as well has come up with very clinical calls, and they've not had to see where they have been under criticism. Mike, let's look at one other area that is looking at the quality of the tournament generally. How will you rate the quality of the tournament? All the 24 teams that have been in part of this tournament, how will you rate them?
Well, for me, I think in the scale of 10, I must give some of these teams that have attended this year's African Cup of Nations about 6% out of 10. So for me,
6 over 10.
It's 6 over 10. Why? Because I think most of the teams that have taken part in this very one have actually played their heart out. They've actually improved on all fronts, unlike the African football we used to know before, where it's more like a fight or a physical battle. But then I think in this year's edition, some of the teams that you call Sinko, they play attractive football. They get the ball going, they keep the ball around, knock it around, and play some kind of beautiful football out there. So for me, I think generally I would say yes. They have actually lived up to the billing. Like I said, in the ratio of 10, I give the teams, 6%.
Well, okay, let me get your thoughts because we were just building up to the tournament final, which is between Nigeria and the host nation, Cote d'Ivoire, and we're looking at StarTimes that have come from it. One big area, a lot of people are talking about the quality of this year's tournament, is in the coaching area. 24 coaches started the tournament, you are aware, and we had an admixture of local and foreign coaches. Right now, it's only one coach standing, and that's Coach Pesero from Portugal, head coach of the Super Eagles of Nigeria. He's up against a local coach, Emase Faye, of course, a former Reading player of England who played for the national team of Ivory Coast, but got injured at the age of 28 and couldn't continue playing football. Assistant of the coach, but because his head coach was fired, after 3 games at the beginning of the competition, he took the mantle, but he seemed to have gotten it right, sending out the defending champion Senegal, the responsible for the All-Star of Mali, and of course the All-Star of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Like I said, it's only one coach standing out of the 24 because the other 23 had already gone home. Only Pesero is there. But tonight, it will be one foreign coach against, a local coach. What is the assertion of the quality of coaching at this year's tournament and the war between foreign and local? Who gets it?
I'm Nigerian, and of course, Coach Pesero is going to get it. And so I really don't want there to be any doubt about that. I want to come home by 11 p.m. tonight, feeling on top of the world, feeling on top of Africa. So I hope and pray that Nigeria, Coach Pesero will get it. But they're talking about foreign and local coaches. African people have grown to the point where it's difficult to separate between foreign and local coaches. Last time, we as Nigerians did their front. It was courtesy of a local coach, late Steve Keshi, God bless his soul, with a couple of home-based players. I remember in that final, a home-based player, got us the winner. And so we tried with a lot of foreign coaches before. We tried General after we had a couple of foreign coaches who really didn't measure up to our standards. General at best took us to semi-final, but moving us, got us, I think the bronze medal, so that was the first to do. And so he was asked to leave. Now Pesero is here. So like I said, it's not really about foreign or local coach. Emas Faye in his role as local coach, you would want to say local, but he's also foreign. Emas Faye was not born in Cote d'Ivoire. So he is also foreign. If you want to look at that, I don't think he played for any Ivorian side. He got all his training in France. Here he is coming to, rescue his station. So I think technically both of them are foreign coaches. The only thing that qualifies Emas Faye as a local coach is Ivorian, black, and it's handling that side. So there's really not been any gap between the foreign and local coaches. A lot of local coaches, held their own in this tournament. Some of them really didn't go far. The Gregory from Morocco is local coach. He got to quarterfinal, was knocked out by foreign coach South Africa, the of South Africa. So, but for tonight, I think and I hope and I pray it goes the way of Joseph Pesero, who is foreign coach, as against Emas Faye, who is, even if he's technically foreign, is a local coach.
Right, just before I let you go on this one, Okwi, a lot of Ivorians following the feet of Emas Faye, winning from the round of 16 up till this, coming up to this final. He's been dubbed the very special one by the Ivorian soccer fans. Does that title, do I say, fit him?
Yeah, it does. He's special. He's done something that no one else has done in the history of the sport. Taking the team from the brink of elimination, a first round elimination, to the final. At best, one of the things that the Ivorians and Emas Faye are praying for them is, that near elimination, near group stage elimination, we kind of dampened the morale and the expectations of the Ivorians. And so for them, having qualified to the second round stage, it was just get us anything, get us out of the group stages. And I don't think a lot of them expected to win against Senegal, but they did. And they also won against Congo. So I think that near elimination kind of helped them, and it dampened like I said, reduced the expectations of the Ivorians, and that kind of took a lot of pressure off the team, knowing that, look, we are not expected to win, so even if we don't win, no one's going to bother us, but let's just go ahead and see how it goes, and that has been carrying them. Emas Faye, I accept, in fact, I endorse him as a special one, and I endorse the Ivorian side as the resurrected team. I call them the Lazarus team, dead and buried, not giving any chance at all, but here they are playing in the final half of the 2024 African Cup of Nations.
Ivory Coast Elephants, the resurrected one according to Okwi, and of course Emas Faye, known as the special one as well in AFCON history. Eko, let me take you on still talking about the coaches. The Nigerian Football Federation, left for them alone, will have fired Coach Pesero, before the Nations Cup. But for the intervention of the new sports minister, Senator John, who came in and this bring truth between the both parties. That even if I went to the man talking about Pesero now taking a pay cut, a huge pay cut. But it looks now that there is more in Coach Pesero than what we saw of him before the Nations Cup.
Yeah, I think a lot of things change. A lot of things change. We saw the power of this. I mean, the oneness in the camp. We saw the spirit of the players, coming alive. We also saw what the S International did, and Pesero knew for once that the chance of failure, stares at him, and I think he listened. By listening, a lot of inputs were made, and the aggregate of those inputs is what we are seeing on match days. And clearly, nobody would have known what he has. This is the first time he's going on a competition. I mean, every match we saw that that changes. We saw the high that the team is going. I think that you at this point you wouldn't want to say that Pesero has not done well. Tactically, he's been okay, And like I said, I mean, we cannot tell what is happening, but I'm sure behind the scene, a lot of things played out that make his tactics very nice, and it's difficult to fault him. But like I said, if we go on to win this African Cup of Nations, there's nothing you would say tell the bookmakers that they will not say that this man is a top-notch coach. And take it or leave it, this is the first time he has achieved such feats in his lifetime, and he should be celebrated, because all the best coaches have done that, except Stephen Keshi and those that have won us the outcome before. Sometimes it may not really be the best, but for him to get to this level, you cannot rule out the fact that something worked out for him. But whatever that worked out for him, Jose Pizarro did it, and that's what we want to count. If he wins today, I mean, you can never eradicate this particular joy in the annals of our history.
Well, Mike is still talking about coaches. This year's African Cup of Nations is into its final in just about an hour or two from now at the Alassane Ouattara Stadium in the northern part of Abidjan, Ibimbi, to be very precise. And like we mentioned, 24 coaches were here. But before the competition has come to an end in just a few hours from now, we've seen the sack of 9 coaches that were at the African Cup of Nations. Is the casualty list on the part of the coaches high so far?
Yes, of course. I would say yes. 9 out of 24 being sacked. I think for me the casualty
even
list,
before the end of the competition.
Yes, even before the end of the competition. Just take a look at even the Ivorians. They did not even believe that they were going to, pass through the back door to get to this point, and that is why they had to even sack their coach without waiting for the other results of the game to come first, before they could determine their fate. So it was so devastating for them. They even had to sack the coach even while waiting for the other final result between, Ghana and Morocco. And of course, Morocco did them that favor. So I would say that the number of coaches being sacked in this year's edition of the African Cup of Nations is very high. 9 coaches sacked out of 24. Man, it tells you that African football is very demanding, and because of the demanding nature of the job, they want result, and if they don't get the result, they get you booted out. Just like Temple said earlier, I mean, Jose Pizarro was at the brink of, being sacked. At some point, the NFF had to throw it open, saying that they were going to create a portals where, football fans, Nigerians, are going to vote whether to retain him or not. At some point, when he had the rumor that he would be sacked, he quickly cut down his salary, came to renegotiation table. So I think it should have been another casualty before coming to the Nations Cup. So I think the numbers of coaches that have been sacked in this year's edition of the African Cup of Nations is very high.
Well, okay, numbers of coaches sacked so far this year's African Cup of Nations, like I mentioned to you, is 9 before the final day. You may just take a look at that briefly, but my question to you just before we begin to wrap up this half of this Sports Extraordinary, pending the next 1.5 hours when the match final will start, is I want you to take a peek. In the last 12 editions of the African Cup of Nations, we've seen 6 of the final end on penalty shootouts. And so far this year's African Cup of Nations, we've seen a couple of games, drive in the knockout stages. We've seen, multiple penalty kicks, taken. Are you seeing this year's final, tonight's final, going to penalty kicks, going by what we've seen so far, or you think otherwise? Because I can help you. We've seen that if you remember, Ivory Coast especially seem to be adept at winning via penalties. If you remember, in 2012, we saw them involved in 17 penalty kicks, and at the end of the day, Zambia did beat them on that one. But thereafter, we've seen them win twice, via penalty. So are you taking a peep into this final tonight and say that we could go into penalties?
Mr. Siri, the last time we went into penalties, this AFCON, 5 Nigerians lost their lives. I don't want to see that happen again. I'm in Nigeria. I really don't want us to go into penalties. The penalties is nobody's game. It could go anyway. And because of that, I would prefer that this gets wrapped up in the first 90. And that's what I believe I expect it to get wrapped up in the first 90. Because the Nigerians will say, yes, we are good penalty takers. Last time we were involved in a penalty shootout in the final, we lost to Cameroon, and it's still working a lot of us now. We had to play 3 finals. Won all the finals that we've won never went into penalties. We won the final in 1980 against Algeria and in Lagos, not penalty. we got the final against Zambia far away to this year, 2-1 on that night. We considered the first goal and we scored twice. We won again in South Africa in 2013 without having to go to penalties. And please, Super Eagles, do that again for us tonight. Win us this AFCON without going to penalties. I don't expect it to be penalties. But if it does, the Ivorians themselves are. They've looked kind of a shock absorber for penalties. Like you rightly mentioned, they were involved in penalties in 2012. They were involved in the game in penalties in 2015 against Ghana, where they won that one. It was also a marathon one. They thought to win that one, and I just hope it doesn't get to penalties.
Well, we just hope it doesn't get to penalties. Talking about the Ivorians, they are very good at penalties, like Okwi mentioned to you there. In 1992, it was 11-10 on penalties, and they won. And the same thing happened in 2015. They won on penalty, so it looks like they are confident at taking it to penalty. But if you are going against the Super Eagles of Nigeria, the South Africans wanted penalty by all means, but at the end of the day, they were ousted via a penalty. So who says the Super Eagles are scared of penalties? But Epo, should we go into penalties?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. We're not going to see penalty today. I'm saying that because I think that the both sides will be very cagey. You look at those games that goes to penalty, you look at lost chances. I don't think that we're going to have missed opportunities, and it will end in regulation time. I feel that the Super Eagles will have to do it because no two games are alike, and the Ivorians, I mean, they are not the best side in terms of regular play. They've just been so lucky getting to this final, and sometimes you say luck, it plays a huge part, but how lucky will they be tonight? The Super Eagles have shown that they have all it takes, if not for the brilliance of the South Africans. So I don't think we will get to penalty.
Well, that will be it for this edition of Sports Extraordinary. Of course, we won't end the show. We said we'll bring you a Sports Extraordinary, and it couldn't have been another person than the CAF president, Mosepe, for ensuring that the families of the 8 people that died in the Olympic Cameroon during the last Nations Cup are invited to be part of this year's edition of the competition. That's really, really touching, and they'll be in the VIP stand watching that encounter. Okay, we're running out of time. I give one word to CAF President Mosepe for remembering the departed. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, African Brotherhood.
African Brotherhood. That's. I think I agree with you completely. April, one word for CAF President for ensuring that these families did not die for nothing.
It's no surprise why he's the best as it stands now in terms of activities like this.
And Mike, one word for the CAF President?
Magnificent.
Well, very magnificent of him to ensuring that the memories of the departed are brought back in this year's African Cup of Nations. That will be it. Don't forget, Nigeria will take on their counterparts from Ivory Coast in just about an hour and a half from now. Between these two countries, there have been 8 meetings at the African Cup of Nations, and Nigeria has won 3 times, while Cote d'Ivoire has won twice. There have been, 3 draws between these two countries. This would history or these statistics will be at stake tonight. Will it be the Super Eagles of Nigeria or it will be Elephants? They say the Eagles love to fly very high, so we expect the Super Eagles to do it. But for the details of everything you need to know about the encounter, right from the goalkeeping department to the defense line to the middle, and of course the attack on the both sides and the star players we expect to see, join us at about 8:30, just about an hour and a half from now, when we will open our studio for the African Nations Cup special edition. And of course, this is the final, the 34th edition, and it promises to be truly all that you need to know. In fact, by the time we finish, you will have made up your mind on which of the teams will win tonight. Until then, remember, peace and unity are clearly pathways to progress. Always enjoy here on Atlantic Television Network.
Goal. Goalkeeper missed it. Right again. Oh, fight him. He does a right hand and down goes Paul straight away. Man.
from the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains. Through the Sahara, we bring on sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.